News Talk Radio Newsroom and powered by DemeraraWaves.com.
Good day with your news update for your major newscast. For the moment, I am Jessica Daw. First with the highlights. Guyana Power and Light says there is sufficient generation capacity for the Christmas season, but blackouts may still occur. Efforts are underway to stamp out fraud through the use of powers of attorney. In the region, the governor of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank says procurement rules across the region must be tightened to clamp down on corruption. Street vending in Barbados is no longer a criminal offense. And internationally, Pfizer-BioNTech says 3 shots of its vaccine can neutralize the Omicron variant of the COVID-19 virus. The details of these stories and more in just a moment.
On December 24 to January 1, you can get your greetings 6 times each day, streaming with your image on Christmas Day. 5-minute live broadcast.
All this for $20,000.
Or 4 times each day
for $15,000.
Right here on NTRG.
Call us on 614-8205 or 692-9400 for details. Merry Christmas from News Talk Radio Guyana, 103.1 FM.
Now for the news in detail. The Guyana Power and Light GPL says it has sufficient generation capacity for the Christmas season, but there may be blackouts due to faults in the transmission system or downed utility poles. The Divisional Director of GPL's operations, Mr. Barrett Harjon, says the company will be able to generate 182.5 megawatts and the projected electricity demand for the Christmas season is 136 megawatts. GPL's Chief Executive Officer Barrett Dindial says no emergency generation system, while the company has 46.5 megawatts reserve capacity. Road accidents can cause blackouts.
There won't be any use of emergency generation equipment this year. We have enough reserve capacity, and this is including base load capacity. But in terms of outages, we don't see an exposure on the generation side. Of course, on the network side, we always have an exposure, and that is, Mr. Harjan spoke to, essentially what we find happening around this time, as you know, we got people out there driving and they seem to be targeting the poles. So we have a lot of those, and there's only so much we can do. We really have to ensure that we are ready to respond to those when they happen.
GPL's Chief Executive Officer, Barrett Dindial. The Guyana Elections Commission has completed interviewing the 2 shortlisted candidates for the post of Chief Election Officer. Opposition-nominated Elections Commissioner Vincent Alexander says the commission will meet again on Friday to possibly decide which of the 2 will be offered the job. He says the 2 former GCOM Deputy Chief Election Officer Vishnu Prasad and Jamaican former Regional Elections Officer Leslie Harrow have submitted hard copies of their curriculum vitae. Mr. Alexander says it is clear that Mr. Harrow understands Guyana's electoral system and was the better of the 2 in the job interviews. He says Mr. Prasad did not satisfactorily answer a number of questions. Mr. Alexander says Mr. Harrow is highly qualified in contrast to Mr. Prasad. Finance Minister Dr. Ashni Singh is urging Teleperformance Call Centre to expand its operations in Guyana also. Delivering an address to mark the company's 5th anniversary observance, he welcomed Teleperformance's decision to expand to other Caribbean countries. At the same time, the finance minister wants the call center to spread its operations to other regions of Guyana.
Even as you consider your expansion in the Caribbean, I would urge you to consider with even greater urgency the expansion of your footprint in Guyana. I know that you're looking at a second location in Georgetown, I believe, but I want to say to you that we see the sector having a significant role to play far beyond Georgetown.
With 70% of Teleperformance's staff already working from home, the finance minister suggests that Teleperformance employs persons from small communities and know that high-speed internet is increasingly becoming available to places like the Essequibo Coast and Berbice.
If you've perfected the work-from-home model as a means of delivery, then even in anticipation of the establishment of a physical presence in some regions of Guyana, you can in fact already start recruiting people in those regions. But what it allows you to do is to access hard-to-reach areas where perhaps the populations are relatively smaller. You might not necessarily set up an entire fancy office there, but there could very well be 20 persons there who you could employ who can work from home. And this allows you to create jobs in those areas.
Finance Minister Dr. Ashley Singh. Guyana this year exported more than 500,000 ounces of gold. President Irfan Ali made this announcement on Monday during an address to a faculty workshop on microeconomics of competitiveness at Harvard Business School of Harvard University.
Our country also is blessed with tremendous deposits of gold. Our volume of exports for 2021 is estimated at 500,000 ounces. In diamonds, for the period of January to September 2021, we exported approximately 20,000 metric carats. The estimate for October to December of this year is a further 7,500 metric carats.
It is not clear how much of the declared gold is produced in Guyana or smuggled from neighboring Venezuela and sold at a lower price due to the socio-economic problems in that neighboring Spanish-speaking nation. The United States had previously raised concerns about the smuggling of the precious yellow metal to prop up the Venezuelan government and possibly finance illicit activities in the Middle East and other parts of the world. The Guyana government is about to amend the Deeds Registry Act to make it harder to grant a power of attorney. When amended, both parties will have to appear before a notary public, either here or overseas, and they will have to provide several types of identification information. When passed by the National Assembly and signed into law by the President, a notary public or justice of the peace who is suspended, removed from practice, or not on the register performs such functions commits an offense. Further, anyone who certifies or propounds any false statement or document or who fraudulently with intent to deceive, conceals, or withholds or perverts any fact or document pertaining to a power of attorney commits an offense can be fined $5 million and imprisoned for 5 years. The amendment now requires the donor and the donee to each provide 2 photograph identification documents, identification card, valid passport, or driver's license that establish their identity. However, the proposed amendment states that if the donor of the power is out of the country and the donee is in Guyana, each would have to appear personally before a notary public, magistrate, or justice of the peace in which he is and execute the power of attorney, providing the identification documents. The law would also now require certified and sealed or stamped copies of the photograph identification documents and a separate witness statement where the donor executed the power outside of Guyana must be attached to the power of attorney and filed with the deeds registry. This would now be accepted as evidence in any suit, action, or other proceeding, states the explanatory memorandum. 3 health sector workers have been charged in connection with forged vaccination cards and were granted a total of $450,000 bail. The law enforcement agency said 32-year-old screening personnel Andel Valentine of Lot 2136 La Parfait Harmony, West Bank Demerara, and a 29-year-old nurse Danica Pollard of Lot 109 Golden Grove East Bank Demerara were charged with forgery of document with intent to defraud the public. Magistrate Judy Latchman granted them $150,000 bail each when they appeared at the Diamond Magistrates Court. The accused were ordered to return to court on January 20, 2022. Police said they were arrested on Friday, December 3, 2021, by a party of police and charged with the offense that occurred between Monday, March 1, 2021, and Friday, December 3, 2021, at various vaccination centers on the east bank of Demerara. Also appearing before Magistrate Latchman was a 21-year-old nurse Olivia Bonus. She was arrested on December 3rd and charged on December 7th with allegedly forging vaccination cards. She too was granted $150,000 bail and told to return to court on January 20th, 2022. The governor of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, ECCB, Dr. Timothy Antoine, says the procurement and auditing system need to be beefed up across the region in an effort to combat corruption. Participating in the Caribbean Conference on Corruption, Compliance, and Cybercrime, he noted that the World Bank says that projects are 10 to 30% more expensive due to corruption. Against that background, he wants the procurement system across the Caribbean to be improved.
We have to modernize our procurement framework. That's a key area if we want to really improve integrity and transparency and accountability. And not just in the government, but also in the state-owned enterprises. In other words, any modern procurement framework must also cover the state-owned enterprises. The irony is that these enterprises were set up ostensibly to be more efficient than the central government. The reality in our frameworks.
The governor of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank also says key government ministries and agencies should have an internal audit system. He says the ministries of Public Works, Health and Education, Police and Natural Resources must have internal audit functions.
These are not luxuries. These are necessities which would save considerable money, but create a line of defense that would allow for high levels of compliance and, of course, address the issue of transparency and accountability.
He says the central government is relying on external audits that are often late and very deficient. More in the region, Barbados' Senate has approved legislation that removes vending as a criminal offense. This report from Barbados Today.
The National Vending Bill got the nod of the island senators on Monday. During the debate in the upper chamber, Deputy President of the Senate, Senator Rudolph Greenidge, said it was a travesty that hundreds of black working-class people who were unjustly criminalized for vending are only now having their records cleared.
It is a pity that the amendment did not come at a time when the majority of those who were the victims would have been alive, those who were so embarrassed. It's a pity that we'll wait till poor Granny has gone to her grave to tell me now it is expunged. It's a travesty. Because right thinking Barbadians, sir, now know that there is value to each and every honest job.
Independent Senator Julian Hunt wants vendors to embrace e-commerce. Speaking in the upper chamber in support of the National Vending Bill 2021, Hunt contended that this would augur well for the advancement of the sector, traditionally referred to as the informal economy.
I would like to see, as I have seen and experienced in parts of Africa and parts of Europe, where you can go to a vendor and the vendor equipped with some attachment on their phone facilitate electronic payment. It makes them less of a target for being robbed. It sets up a record that the banks can see that here is a business person, here is some tangible evidence of their income. It puts the vendor in a position where they can access credit and they can be thinking on a scale larger than the scale which they most likely have been thinking on up to this point.
He added that vendors ought to be encouraged to plan ahead by contributing to the National Insurance Scheme for their retirement.
And that was a report from Barbados Today. Residents of the Bahamas are about to pay more for basic consumer items. This is because value-added tax, VAT, is being increased. More in this report from the Bahamas' Eyewitness News.
Economic Affairs Minister Senator Michael Halkitis defending the anticipated increase of value-added tax on breadbasket items, saying it follows expert advice and best practices around the world. During his contribution in the Senate this morning, Halkitis says it is his government's belief that little to no exemptions are what's best for the country and the effectiveness of the tax system. Breadbasket items are currently zero rated for VAT. However, the government intends to introduce VAT on breadbasket items when VAT is reduced to 10%. Halkitis says that represents a saving across the board.
And so in order to take VAT off of those, VAT had to be increased on, for example, in the food store. So my point in listing all of those, Mr. Deputy, is, Mr. Vice President, is that when you try to bring relief by exempting certain things, and then you have to raise the rate on other things, inevitably people are paying more for those things.
However, Senator Reuben Ramming says while he understands what the government is attempting to do, he still believes that adding VAT on breadbasket items will negatively impact the poorest among us.
I like the idea of it that there is something that can stay at its most basic minimum. So when the time comes that me or you, Mr. Vice President, ends up being, let's forget about the poor, let's be selfish. Me and you end up to that point that we can only buy corn. That's all I'm simply saying. So let's not disregard, Mr. Vice President, through you, the breadbasket item. Let's not disregard the medicines, because I know persons who have been calling me over and over, can't buy the insulin, can't buy the blood pressure medicine, can't pay for the heart medicine. And see, this is what we face, because we got to look forward to say countdowns and build costs.
The Bahamas' opposition Senator Reuben Ramming. That report from the Bahamas' Eyewitness News. The 24-year-old man accused of stabbing Deputy Commissioner of Police Albert Wade last week has been remanded to prison. Austin Isaac of Gray's Farm is charged with battery on police, being armed with an offensive weapon, and inflicting grievous bodily harm in relation to Wade. He is also said to have battered and assaulted a woman. Deputy Police Commissioner Wade was reportedly stabbed multiple times while he was attempting to separate Mr. Wade and a woman who were apparently involved in a squabble. The police officer is said to have been attacked by the accused, who allegedly stabbed the senior police officer in the head and both arms. He was treated and sent away. The prosecution objected to bail on a number of grounds, including that the injuries sustained by Wade could prove to be serious and maybe consequently result in the charges being elevated to indictable offenses. The magistrate obliged the prosecution's request and bail was denied. However, he indicated to Isaac that if he retains an attorney and wishes to make a bail application before his next hearing, he will be allowed to do so. Otherwise, the defendant will be on remand until December 21, when DCP Wade's sick leave is expected to end. And lastly, in the region, a church in Jamaica is spearheading a project to shift youths away from crime through music. The Lighthouse Assembly's Pastor Rohan Edwards has opened a music academy for the youths of Spanish Town and surrounding areas.
Prompted by a need to take delinquent youth off the street, coupled with the desire to fill a shortage of musicians in churches, Pastor Rowan Edwards of the Lighthouse Assembly in Spanish Town, St. Catherine, has opened the Lighthouse Assembly Music Academy. He shares the importance of the institution.
A lot of our students in our schools are not academically inclined. So therefore, we know that if we get them to do music, they can be applicable and applicable anywhere in the world. This is a way of getting young men to come out of crime, to get out of gangs. We want them to learn music.
Present at the opening was gospel recording artist Jermaine Edwards, who says young people who equip themselves with the skills being offered will become more marketable.
Skills in this time, especially since COVID, is very, very important. Because it makes you hold a handle when you're multi-talented. You know, many people may have the gift and don't want to use it, and I believe that there is many rooms for others to use their gift and talents for sakes of, going in directions that you're not supposed to be going in, and it can be a positive move.
Though millions of dollars have been invested into the school, the courses are free to students who can learn to play an instrument, record music, take up skills in videography or audio engineering. Speaking to the shortage of musicians in churches, chairman of the Spanish Town Ministries Fraternal says these skills will add value to the various spaces these youth interact with.
The work that they learn here, they'll be able to take it back to their church. And though churches have moved online, it has been my experience that persons were eager to get back into the building. And so with the education that this institution will provide, they'll be able to upgrade themselves when they get back into the physical space.
Janelle Powell, CVM Live.
And here now is your international news coming from the BBC.
Hello, I'm Moira Alderson with the BBC News. The head of India's armed forces, General Bipin Rawat, has been killed in a helicopter crash in the southern state of Tamil Nadu. The Air Force said his wife and 11 other people on board also died in the crash. A sole survivor is receiving hospital treatment. Rajini Vaidyanathan has more details.
We've heard from Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who has paid tribute to General Bipin Rawat. He said he was a true patriot who contributed to modernising the armed forces and the security apparatus, and said that his insights were exceptional. The pair were very close. General Rawat was Chief of the Defence Staff in India, a role that was created in 2019, effectively bringing together the country's Navy, Army and the Air Force. And before that, he was overseeing the Indian Army's operations.
Germany's new centre-left Chancellor, Olaf Scholz, has thanked his predecessor, Angela Merkel, in person and promised to build on her achievements. The two politicians held a warm handover ceremony at the Chancellery in Berlin. Our Europe editor, Danny Eberhard, reports.
The appointment of Olaf Scholz marks the end of an era, after 16 years with Angela Merkel at the helm. He's only the fourth German Chancellor in nearly 40 years. The government will now be led from the centre-left, not the centre-right. But Mr Scholz is promising continuity as well as change, as he aims to build a fairer, greener society. The 63-year-old served as finance minister under Mrs Merkel. He's seen by voters as a safe pair of hands. Mrs Merkel was widely praised as being good in a crisis. Chancellor Scholz faces one right from the off, tackling Germany's worst wave of coronavirus infections.
The British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has apologised for the offence caused by a video that showed his staff joking about reports of a Christmas party in Downing Street last year during a coronavirus lockdown. Mr Johnson said he had been repeatedly assured that no party had taken place and announced an inquiry. Rob Watson has more.
He didn't really apologise. I mean, you know, there's sort of three things you can do in a fix like this. You could stick to your story, you could apologise, you could blame someone else. And in a funny way, he did a bit of all three. So he said, I've been informed that the rules were stuck to. He apologised for the offence the video caused, and blaming someone else. Well, he's clearly deciding to make sure that it's his aides and officials who get the blame. I don't think it'll be the end of it because of the fact that it's not the end of COVID.
A Saudi man arrested at Paris airport on Tuesday on suspicion of involvement in the killing of the Saudi Arabian journalist Jamal Khashoggi has been released. The Paris prosecutor's office said that identity checks had established that an arrest warrant issued by Turkey did not apply to the man. World News from the BBC. The UN's Agency for Women is warning of a rapid reversal of the rights of women and girls in Afghanistan since the Taliban took power 4 months ago. Despite repeated Taliban assurances that female rights would be respected within its interpretation of Islam, the UN report concludes that discrimination is now, in its words, being normalised across all aspects of Afghan life. Pfizer-BioNTech have said 3 doses of their COVID-19 vaccine have been able to neutralise the Omicron variant in laboratory tests. The manufacturers say that while 2 doses offer lower protection against Omicron, a third booster dose increased the neutralising antibodies significantly. Pfizer-BioNTech say that if needed, they could deliver an Omicron-specific vaccine by March. The advocacy group Reporters Without Borders says that China has imprisoned more journalists than any other country, with at least 127 reporters currently behind bars. Celia Hatton reports.
RSF highlights the case of Zhang Jian, the lawyer-turned-citizen journalist who documented lockdown conditions in Wuhan, the city where COVID first surfaced. She's now in ill health, serving a 4-year prison sentence after being found guilty of picking quarrels and provoking trouble. At least 9 others in Wuhan suffered the same fate. RSF's latest report also highlights the almost complete shutdown of a once vibrant media in the Chinese territory of Hong Kong. Now, many journalists there are considering whether to go into exile or risk arrest.
Archaeologists working in eastern England have given details of the first example of a Roman crucifixion ever found in Britain. They uncovered the skeleton of a man who had a nail driven through his right heel, along with other physical trauma. His remains were, among others, unearthed from a Roman-era settlement near modern Fenstanton. Excavation began in 2017. BBC News.
That was your international news. Here now is a recap of the highlights. Guyana Power and Light says there is sufficient generation capacity for the Christmas season, but blackouts may still occur. Efforts are underway to stamp out fraud through the use of powers of attorney. In the region, the governor of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank says procurement rules across the region must be tightened to clamp down on corruption. Street vending in Barbados is no longer a criminal offence. And internationally, Pfizer-BioNTech says 3 shots of its vaccine can neutralize the Omicron variant of the COVID-19 virus. And that was your major newscast. I'm Jessica Daw.
This has been the news, compiled in the News Talk Radio newsroom. For ongoing updates, visit demerarawaves.com, and you can check facebook.com/demwaves and twitter.com/demwaves.
Giftland Mall, they're giving away vouchers from December 30 to Christmas Eve. You can say there's no such thing as Santa, but as for we on 103, we believe.
From December 13 to 24, listen to News Talk Radio Guyana 103.1 FM.
Answer a simple question and you can win yourself a voucher. Compliments of Giftland Mall.
Season's greetings to supporters of Giftland
and 103.1 FM.
On December 24 to January 1, you can get your greetings 6 times each day, streaming with your image on Christmas Day. 5-minute live broadcast.
All this for $20,000.
Or 4 times each day
for $15,000.
Right here on NTRG.
Call us on 614-8205 or 692-9400 for details. Merry Christmas from News Talk Radio Guyana 103.1 FM.
It's 12 hours 32 and this is still Brunch on the Coast on News Talk Radio Guyana 103.1 FM with me, Jessica Daw. Coming up at 13 hours will be that NTRG mix. But even as we are here now, we're getting closer to that time. Let's go with some music now coming from Taras Riley, Crime-Free Christmas.
Season's greetings. Uptown, downtown. We know why you're not gone town. Sing it. Oh God.
Santa Claus vibes, I know we night. I and I on a Christmas list. If you want, give me a Christmas gift. Tell about this and let me tell about this. All I want for Christmas is to stay alive. Can't take the sound them of the 45. All I want for Christmas is to stay alive. Well, I health and strength more life. Tired of my brother and my sister, them a quarrel. Hey, come make me drink like a sorrel. Tell Auntie Joan and Uncle Warren send clothes and clothes when I'm going in a barrel. Don't know say Santa no give a carry. And my house stop can't manage. I feel love my mama all when she know have it. She I give her like a chocolate, tea, a little porridge. Boy, I live your time and school done. And nothing we need for have fun. It's like a family reunion we having. Plus, greetings that sent from foreign. We belly full from Christmas Eve. And Grand Market we have to clean. Don't want no gunshot a bus in the street. Put down your gun them please. I make we have a crime-free Christmas time. Don't let violence rock the vibes. No. A crime-free Christmas time. Don't let bloodshed rock the vibes. No. All I want for Christmas is to stay alive. Can't take the sound them of the 45s. All I want for Christmas is a new brand ride with a thick Empress inside. Hold tight. No slow, no fall, on good thing a little breeze. No one now stick up with gun and ball freeze. No brutal police beat you till you wake. Christmas can't catch me in a barren country. Black lives matter in Jamaica to we. All lives matter at the setting we break. Could I come from Norfolk or down at AG? Want the crime and violence to cease. Petty things. Now the little youth them with them phone them. Papa work hard to support them. See the little girl in her shorts and one hold her tongue. Pedophile we no condone them. Rats and ball them linking at the street. Party a keep on everybody see. Take a draw, take a sip, and a gunshot for beat. Put down your gun them please. Make we have a crime-free Christmas time. Don't let violence rock the vibes. No. Yeah, a crime-free Christmas time. Don't let bloodshed rock the vibes. Hey, make we have a crime-free Christmas time. Don't let violence rock the vibes. A crime-free Christmas time. Don't let bloodshed rock the vibes. plenty little bit. And tell them, say, to shave a bungle of green to me because you not go kill the goat and me not go partake in it. You understand me? So
yourself a merry little Christmas. Let yourself be light. From now on, our troubles will be out of sight. Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Make the Yuletide gay. From now on, our troubles will be miles away. And here we are in olden days, happy golden days of yore. Faithful friends who are dear to us, gather near to us once more. Through the years, we'll all be together if the fate allows. Until then, we'll have to muddle through somehow. So have yourself a merry little Christmas now. You know what it is. You know it's a Caribbean Christmas. That's what we do it, you know. Island style, you know. Yeah. Faithful friends who are dear to us, gather near to us once more. Through the years, we'll all be together if the fate allows. Hang your shining star upon the highest bough. A merry little Christmas now. It's Christmas time, you know. The best Christmas is an island Christmas. So don't even hesitate. Come rock with us. Have yourself a Merry Christmas. Good to be home.
So good, so good.
Romy and Virgo.
So good, so good.
It's Christmas.
It's good to be home when the lights are on the tree. Whoa,
that's right.
When the presents are open, I'm with the family.
Tis the season, Dogtown and Island won't be freezing. Flip-flops on my feet and catch me on the beach watching the sunset every evening. I give to you from me, I'm guilty. This Santa Claus don't need no chimney. 12 days with the family is simply unbelievable. What can I say? The rest is history. Mama in the kitchen, I perform. Everybody Everybody cooking up a storm. Just letting you know that is the norm. Always keep the Christmas vibe warm.
It's good to be home when the lights are on the tree. The presents are open. I'm with the family. Open presents under the Christmas tree. Open presents under the Christmas tree.
No winter, no coat. Much better diving in the water from the boat. Play the music loud, somebody pass the remote. Everybody singing and them can't hold a note. Run my beat every weekend. Slurp on my speech when me speaking. Such a wonderful feeling. All when Christmas gone, I ain't leaving.
It's good to be home when the lights are on the tree. The presents are open. I'm with the family. It's good to be home when the lights are on the tree. Where the presents are open. With the
Serving Guyanese at home and overseas. News Talk Radio Guyana for accurate information blended with great music.
Oh me, this Christmas time. Shensia, hey.
I'd swim the seas, climb mountains too.
Island girl.
Ride on a breeze to get next to you. There's nothing that I won't go through.
There's nothing that I wanna do.
Wake up to a dream, you make every wish come true. And in a silent night so close under the sky, you and I, where the stars dance with the moonlight. You and I, well, we got love. We got la 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 love.
Yeah.
Oh, we got us. We got love this Christmas. Yeah. Oh, we got love. We got la 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 love. Oh, we got us.
Yeah.
Love this Christmas.
Island girl, treat me in the morning up like the sun with kisses so sweet. Island girl, you're my hot chocolate sweet candy. Can't let me be your treat. Island girl, treat me in the morning up like the sun with kisses so sweet. Island girl, the holidays calling. Who need the snow just sand on our feet? Chillava.
I know you want a girl from the Caribbean. Island girl, one in a million. It's a straight facts, not opinion. So me have the best. Why? You want to say I'm me, you are weird one. Be a good right, cause me Jamaican. Rock you sweeter than a love song. Come on, me baby.
In a silent night so close under the sky, you and I, and the stars dance with the moonlight. You and I, yeah. Oh, we got love. We got la 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 la. Oh, we got us. We got love. Oh, we got love. We got la 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 la. Oh, we got us. Love this Christmas.
Island girl, take me in the morning up like the sun with kisses so sweet. Island girl, I'm your hot chocolate sweet candy. Can't let me be your treat. Island girl, take me in the morning up like the sun with kisses so sweet. Island girl, the holidays calling. Who need the snow, the sand, and our feet? Chillava.
stop the goodness we start. And even if we end up worlds apart, no need to worry, you know what we got.
12 hours of 46. Gen C alongside Omi on that Shaggy Christmas album, We Got Us. And just before that, Open Presents featuring Romaine Virgo. This is still Brunch in the Coast with me, Jessica Daw. 12 hours 46 once again. Coming up at 13 hours will be that NTRG mix, so do stay tuned. The Christmas season is here, and the News Talk Radio Guyana 103.1 FM is in the spirit of giving. Starting from December 24th to January 1, you can have your Christmas greetings aired for 6 times. Yes, 6 for $20,000 or 4 for $15,000. That's not all. Streaming of your image on Facebook on Christmas Day and New Year's Day, and a 5-minute live broadcast. You don't want to miss out on these deals. Call us on 614-8205 or 692-9400 for more information. Season's greetings from 103.1 FM.
Don't let the fear of contracting the coronavirus disease care you need. At Eureka Labs, we ensure the safety of our clients and staff with our rigid sanitization routine. This involves the use of ultraviolet lights to effectively rid the air and all surfaces of viruses and bacteria that may be present throughout the lab daily. The light works to rapidly inactivate microorganisms through a physical process that is invisible to human eye. So the next time you need a checkup, don't hesitate to give us a call on 225-7574 to schedule your appointment.
Giftland Mall, they're giving away vouchers from December 30 to Christmas Eve. You can say there's no such thing as Santa, but as for we on 103, we believe.
From December 13 to 24, listen to News Talk Radio Guyana 103.1 FM.
Answer a simple question and you can win yourself a voucher. Compliments of Giftland Mall.
Season's greetings to supporters of Giftland
and 103.1 FM.